We live in an era where canvas and paints are giving way to graphic tablets and musical instruments to digital audio editors. Generations Z and Alpha were born with smartphones in hand and never knew a world without the internet. Their creativity was initially shaped in a digital environment where likes and views became the new currency of recognition. A child drawing for TikTok and a teenager creating music for Instagram. This is the new norm of contemporary art. Virtual galleries of social networks have replaced school exhibitions, and home video studios have replaced traditional concert venues. What drives these young creators? Why do they choose a digital canvas instead of a paper one? How has the very concept of creativity changed when any drawing can be endlessly edited without fear of spoiling it? We stand on the threshold of fundamental changes in how humanity creates and perceives art. Technologies have opened up unprecedented opportunities for self-expression, but at the same time have given rise to the risks of standardization and loss of uniqueness in pursuit of trends and algorithmic approval. Children of generations Z and Alpha perceive the world through a digital filter. They don't just use technology, they think in it. Their artistic perception is formed in a world where the virtual and the real are inseparable. The first strokes on a tablet screen often precede pencil drawings on paper. Fingers glide across touchscreens before they learn to hold a brush. This characteristic changes the very process of creative thinking. Digital natives are accustomed to instant results, the ability to undo actions, and to experiment endlessly without fear of irreversible error. The undo function creates a different psychology of creativity, bolder but sometimes less thoughtful. The aesthetic values of the younger generations are shaped by pixel graphics, filters, and effects. Their understanding of beauty is often linked to the visual codes of digital culture: saturated colors, ideal lines, certain proportions popular online. For them, virtual art is not an imitation of reality. It is an independent form of existence. Three-dimensional models, augmented reality, interactive installations are perceived not as technological tricks, but as natural artistic means. The speed with which children master complex graphic programs is astonishing. What adults learn over months, teenagers grasp in a matter of days. Their brains, forming in the digital age, possess increased plasticity for new interfaces and ways of interacting with the virtual canvas. Why are modern children and teenagers so passionately creating content for social media? The answer lies in a complex intertwining of psychological and social factors. The main one is instant feedback. In traditional art, a young artist had to wait for an exhibition or a concert to get their work evaluated. Today, it's enough to press the publish button, and within minutes, the first reactions appear: likes, comments, reposts. This creates a powerful emotional stimulus to see how your creativity resonates here and now. Digital art becomes a means of social integration. By drawing for TikTok or creating music for Instagram, teenagers find their community, their circle of like-minded individuals. In a world where physical communication is increasingly replaced by virtual interaction, creative content becomes the currency of social interaction. A way to say, "I exist, I am unique, I am worthy of your attention." A new and powerful motivator is the possibility of early monetization. Just yesterday, a 12-year-old artist could only dream that their work would generate income. Today, teenagers earn their first money through their creativity long before adulthood. This blurs the line between hobby and profession, between self-expression and commercial activity. Young creators learn to think in terms of target audience, reach, and conversion even before finishing school. However, this motivation system also carries hidden risks. creativity oriented towards quantitative metrics can turn into a chase for approval. Artistic value begins to be measured in numbers, not in the depth of self-expression. A child who receives few likes on their drawing can experience genuine creative trauma, comparable to a failure on a big stage. When we transfer art from the physical world to the digital, an amazing metamorphosis occurs. The traditional brush, leaving unique strokes on canvas, gives way to a stylus gliding across the smooth surface of a tablet. The tactile sensation of the material disappears, the roughness of paper, the viscosity of paint, the resistance of clay. Instead, a new language of interaction emerges: gestures, layers, filters, the possibility of endless editing. It's like moving from handwritten script to printed text. We lose the uniqueness of handwriting, but gain clarity and universality. In digital space, every stroke can be undone, every note moved, every frame re-edited. This offers freedom for experimentation, but sometimes deprives us of that very precious irreversibility that forces an artist to fully concentrate on every movement. Virtual art democratizes creation, lowering the entry barrier. No more expensive materials are needed, just an app on a smartphone. But this same accessibility generates an ocean of superficial content, in which truly profound works drown. Digital tools allow for faster technical perfection, but cannot replace years of practice needed to develop artistic vision. Perhaps the main difference between traditional and digital art is the attitude towards error. In the world of paper and paints, an error becomes part of the work, giving it humanity. In the digital world, an error is most often eliminated, making works more perfect but sometimes sterile. However, the best digital artists deliberately retain imperfections, understanding their value. The transition to virtual space has also changed the way art is perceived. A painting in a gallery exists within the context of space, lighting, surrounding works. A digital work is most often perceived in isolation, on a screen, in a stream of content scrolled with a thumb. The evolution of creative tools is perhaps the most vivid part of the revolution in art. Today, young artists of generations Z and Alpha stand with one foot in the world of traditional materials and the other in the digital universe of boundless possibilities. A graphic tablet with a pressure-sensitive stylus has long since transformed from an expensive curiosity into standard equipment for a budding illustrator. Programs like Procreate on tablets or even mobile phones offer functionality that professional artists of the past could only dream of. An infinite number of layers, undo actions, instant tool changes. All this changes not only the technique, but also the psychology of creativity. A young artist is no longer afraid of spoiling a work with a wrong stroke, which means they experiment more boldly and develop faster. Musical creativity has undergone an equally dramatic transformation. Teenagers create full-fledged compositions in free programs like GarageBand, without mastering any traditional instrument. Virtual synthesizers, drum machines, and auto-tune have become the basis of a new musical language, understandable to digital generations. The most important change is the democratization of professional tools. What once required expensive studios and equipment is now available on a regular computer. A 15-year-old video blogger edits videos in programs used by Hollywood studios. A budding composer has access to sound libraries comparable to the arsenal of renowned producers. This accessibility blurs the line between amateur and professional, creating a new category of creators, advanced enthusiasts whose work rivals professional quality. Social networks have become the new galleries and concert halls of our time. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. These platforms have transformed into global exhibition spaces where everyone can showcase their creativity to a million-strong audience without intermediaries or curators. A young artist no longer waits years for an opportunity to show their work. They create a virtual gallery in a few minutes and receive feedback from all over the world. This democratization of access to an audience has radically changed the artistic ecosystem. Traditional gatekeepers of art, gallerists, producers, publishers, are giving way to algorithms and communities. A creator's reputation is now formed not by critics' opinions, but by digital metrics, subscribers, views, comments. Instant feedback has become a new factor in artistic evolution. When a child uploads their drawing or song, they receive dozens and hundreds of reactions within an hour. No previous generation of creators knew such intensity of response. This creates a new dynamic of development. Young authors adjust their style faster, learn faster, but also succumb faster to the influence of public opinion. Curatorial practices have undergone revolutionary changes. Now, users themselves become curators, creating selections, playlists, sharing works they like. New mechanisms for filtering and promoting content are forming, based on collective taste and viral spread. This generates both unique opportunities for talented prodigies and risks of art homogenization under the influence of mass trends. In a world where one click can copy and appropriate someone else's work, the line between inspiration and plagiarism becomes ever finer. Modern young creators live in a paradoxical situation. Never before has it been so easy to find inspiration and so difficult to remain original. Social networks have turned into an endless feed of visual and auditory references, where every other drawing resembles the previous one. Copying has become part of the cultural code of digital generations. TikTok challenges, where thousands of teenagers repeat the same dance or song, memes, reposts, remixes, all this blurs the concept of authorship. A young artist, just starting their journey, finds themselves under the powerful influence of existing styles and images that algorithms push as examples of success. But there is a fundamental difference between inspiration and copying. The first enriches art, the second impoverishes it. When a child copies a popular anime drawing style without understanding the principles of form construction, they deprive themselves of the opportunity to develop their own vision. A technically perfect copy might gather more likes than an imperfect but original experiment. The digital environment has created a new ethical dilemma. What constitutes borrowing, and what constitutes theft? If a teenager uses someone else's beat for their track, is mentioning the author in the description sufficient? If an artist copies the composition of a well-known work but changes the characters, is it transformation or plagiarism? Paradoxically, the era of boundless access to references can lead to the standardization of art. When algorithms promote a certain aesthetic and trends dictate what should be popular, there is a risk of cultural homogenization. Millions of unique voices merge into one averaged chorus, sounding in unison with the demands of digital platforms. Behind every like and comment on a child's drawing lies an invisible force: social media algorithms. These digital curators subtly shape artistic trends and aesthetic preferences for entire generations. They decide which works the broad audience will see and which will remain in the shadows, regardless of their artistic merit. Young creators quickly learn to produce content. They intuitively understand bright colors, specific compositions, and popular subjects will receive more views. This gives rise to the phenomenon of algorithmic aesthetics, art optimized not for human perception, but for machine selection. This leads to a paradoxical situation. Technically perfect, but formulaic works displace unconventional experiments. Artistic value gives way to engagement metrics. Creativity becomes a product optimized for the mechanics of content dissemination. Of particular danger are filter bubbles, where the algorithm shows the user only what aligns with their previous preferences. A young artist, engrossed in a certain style, starts receiving only similar works in their feed, creating the illusion that the whole world draws exactly that way. The diversity of styles and approaches is artificially narrowed, forming a limited understanding of contemporary art. At the same time, algorithms are indifferent to cultural context and artistic tradition. They promote works solely based on quantitative engagement metrics, failing to distinguish between genuine innovation and fleeting trends. This creates a risk of cultural amnesia, when entire layers of artistic heritage become invisible to new generations, simply because they don't fit into the logic of recommendation systems. In a world where every second teenager strives to become a popular blogger, how does one preserve their unique creative voice? This question becomes key for young artists and musicians of generations Z and Alpha. They find themselves in a paradoxical situation. Digital platforms simultaneously offer boundless opportunities for self-expression and create powerful pressure for conformity. Psychologists note the particular vulnerability of a developing creative identity when faced with mass trends. When a teenager's work, not conforming to popular aesthetics, receives minimal feedback, while standardized content gathers thousands of likes, a natural temptation arises to abandon one's vision in favor of proven formulas for success. Creative individuality in the digital age is formed through constant opposition to external pressure. The young creator daily resolves an internal conflict to create what genuinely expresses their inner world, or what is guaranteed to receive audience approval. Paradoxically, it is precisely in an era of boundless technical possibilities that we observe a visual and stylistic unification of creativity. Millions of unique voices merge into one homogenized chorus, sounding in unison with the demands of digital platforms. Commercial success and fidelity to one's own vision are often perceived as mutually exclusive paths. However, the history of digital art already knows examples of creators who manage to maintain authenticity and, at the same time, find their audience. The secret to their success lies in understanding that genuine originality, in the long run, becomes a more valuable asset than the ability to follow fleeting trends. Can we truly experience a painting by looking at it through a smartphone screen? Is a digital copy capable of conveying the awe inspired by the original? These questions become central when analyzing the emotional perception of art in the digital age. As we transition from physical works to their virtual embodiments, not only the format but also the very nature of emotional interaction with art is transformed. The digital screen creates an additional barrier between the viewer and the artwork. What art critics call the aura of the original disappears, an elusive sense of authenticity that cannot be digitized. However, new channels of emotional interaction emerge instead. The interactivity of digital art allows the viewer to become a co-creator, to influence the work, to enter into a dialogue with it. Generations Z and Alpha are developing a special type of emotional intelligence: digital empathy. They are capable of reading emotional signals through the screen, catching nuances of mood in pixels and bits. For them, a virtual experience is no less real than a physical one. Digital natives do not perceive the technological interface as an obstacle. It becomes a natural extension of their sensory apparatus. Art on social networks has created the phenomenon of collective emotional experience. When thousands of people simultaneously react to a single work, a resonance of feelings arises, amplifying individual perception. Comments, emojis, reactions form a peculiar emotional cloud around the digital artifact, making its perception multidimensional, polyphonic. How to preserve creative individuality in a world where algorithms and trends dictate what to create. Here are some practical tips for young creatives and their parents. Start with a digital detox. Regularly disconnect from social media. The creative brain needs silence to hear its own voice. Dedicate at least one day a week to not viewing others' work before creating your own. Practice the quote zero technique. Draw or compose music immediately after waking up, when your consciousness is not yet clouded by external influences. Create without thinking about publishing. Start a quote 1, a work you do just for yourself, with no intention of showing it to the world. This frees you from the pressure of expectations and allows for experimentation. Study art offline. Visit museums, concerts, read physical books. Inspiration from the real world is always more unique than from the digital one. Keep an observation journal. Write down what you see with your own eyes, not through a smartphone camera. Train your perception, not the algorithm's perception. Mix techniques and styles that seem incompatible, digital with traditional, music with visual art. Hybrid forms often give birth to something new. Find your creative ritual, a special place, time, sequence of actions that set you up for creation. A ritual becomes an anchor of individuality in the stream of trends. For parents, it's important to encourage children for originality, not for technical perfection. Praise unusual solutions, not strict adherence to a model. Help find a balance between trends and self-expression. Don't completely deny popular styles, but don't let them consume the child's uniqueness either. We stand on the threshold of a new era of digital art, where the boundaries between the virtual and the physical are gradually blurring. Virtual and augmented reality technologies allow for the creation of works that were unimaginable even a decade ago. Interactive sculptures that react to the viewer's movement, paintings that change composition depending on the time of day, music that adapts to the listener's emotional state. The future of digital creativity is not a confrontation between the traditional and the virtual, but their harmonious synthesis. Already today we see artists creating physical installations with digital elements, musicians combining acoustic instruments with electronic processing, writers experimenting with interactive narratives. The most promising direction is art that uses technology not as an end in itself, but as a tool for deeper human self-expression. True innovations are born at the intersection of digital capabilities and eternal human questions about meaning, beauty, love, fear, hope. Digital art will increasingly influence the formation of the cultural code of future generations. What children see on social networks today will become the foundation of their aesthetic perceptions tomorrow. That is why it is so important to help young creators find a balance between technological capabilities and genuine self-expression. Perhaps the main challenge of our time is to preserve humanity in the age of algorithms. Technologies should enhance our creative potential, not replace it. They should expand the palette of artistic means, not standardize them.